Welcome to We Are North Texas, a podcast brought to you by the University of North Texas system that focuses on innovation, compassion, ideas, and accomplishments in our home region of Dallas-Fort Worth. The UNT system is the only university system based in DFW and includes the University of North Texas, UNT Health Science Center, and UNT Dallas. With our heart in North Texas, we transform lives and create economic opportunity through education. Welcome to the We Are North Texas podcast. I am Paul Corliss, Chief Communications Officer for the University of North Texas System, and really excited about today's guest, Dr. Michael Hinojosa is Dallas Schools Superintendent. Dr. Hinojosa, welcome to the podcast. How are you doing during these challenging times?
Well, I've never been through a year like this, but it's all good. You know, I really enjoy the job, and these times are tough, but the tough need to get going and provide services to our families, and so I'm excited to have that opportunity.
You are a Dallas guy through and through, graduate of Sunset High School, and your first job was at W.H. Adamson High School. You have two sons that graduated from Hillcrest. How do you think Dallas is holding up during this challenging time? You know, all over the country, we see various cities and states of flux, and Dallas seems for the most part to have held steady, but would love to hear your perspective.
Well, you forgot to mention, I also got my master's at University of North Texas. So
yes, sir. One of our proud alums.
All the way through. No, that's what I love about Dallas. We're a can-do city. Despite this pandemic and despite everything going on, I think we're persevering. I think our economy is staying strong. I think our school system is doing actually quite well. We passed a big bond election in the throes of all of this craziness. But also, I've been to 7 schools, and early I was a little skeptical because New York's not open. New York's open and shut. Chicago hasn't even opened. Many California schools have not opened. And the best decision I made was wait until after Labor Day. And then we just 100% virtual. And then by mid-October, we decided to open up. And then I was getting a lot of heat, especially from the teachers union. I've been to 7 schools, and unless the governor, the commissioner, or the board tell me to shut down, we're not shutting down. Because what I've seen is teachers working real hard. I've seen 1,500 students so far. I've seen 1 5-year-old special needs kids that didn't have a mask on. Everybody else was compliant. The teachers were working real hard. Everybody had a good attitude. So after I've seen what I've seen, I'm completely on board that these kids need to be in school. And I've had to push the county, give a stiff arm to the county because they're telling me, why are you open? Well, I'm open because the kids are doing well and the kids need to be somewhere. And we're not the spreaders. So while it's very challenging, I think just the attitude that the Metroplex and Dallas in particular has about, remember every recession, we were the last one in the recession and the first one out. And this pandemic, it's affected us the least because of the can-do spirit that everybody has here in North Texas.
You mentioned a lot of things that I want to get into today, and maybe I'll start with asking you about teachers. I'm not a Dallas ISD parent, but I do live in Dallas and have lots of friends that are parents and friends that are teachers too. And it seems to have been such an interesting adjustment for teachers. And, I've heard lots of complaints from my teacher friends that I'm having to do things twice, or, that this kid's parent isn't responsible and I feel at risk. How difficult has that been in working with teachers? My mom was a teacher for about 40 years, so I'm sensitive to teachers.
Well, some superintendents pick on teachers, but I love teachers so much. I married 2 of them at different times now, but it has been rough on the teachers. I mean, just think about it. All the responsibilities they have, they got into this to help kids. And then we throw everything else on top of them. And then this thing is new. All that being said, they're warriors, like the ones that I can't figure out how they're doing it. And I've walked by classrooms. I don't go in because I don't want to disrupt instruction, but they're actually got their laptop open. They're teaching kids on Zoom, and then they got kids working in groups. It's amazing to see it happen. And out of the 7 schools that I've been to, I've seen the same thing over and over. Now, some of the principals have gotten very entrepreneur, and they'll say, okay, we have enough. We'll have a teacher just do in classroom, and then we'll have another teacher in another classroom doing the Zoom stuff. But that doesn't always work out. But it's been amazing how everybody stepped up. And there's also we got teacher unions and teachers who are everyday teachers who are not necessarily involved in the union activities. They both have a legitimate concern. They have a
Sure.
legitimate concern. However, we always did this for the greater good. Teachers have done it to serve other people and to make kids smarter. And so I'm very proud of what we've done despite the challenge.
And will you continue with in the after the winter break as same as you are, that it's an option, I guess, to be in person or to be virtual?
Yes, we'll continue that for the balance of the year. But let me tell you, I can now see the light at the end of the tunnel, and it's not a freight train. I think things are going to get next year. We better not be back to normal. We never should go back to normal. We should never suspend a kid again. If a kid gets in trouble, we should find a way to put them somewhere else and keep them learning. I think that by spring break, we will have turned the corner with the new administration and with the vaccines. I think it's still going to be really tough. By the time February, we're going to start turning the corner. By spring break, we'll have some hope, but we're going to stay status quo. What we ask the parents to do is give us a grading period. If you change your mind at the end of the grading period, we'll always welcome you. But we have systems, we have logistics, we have PPE, we have hallway transitions. Can we feed the kids in the cafeteria? All of those things are dependent on how many bodies we have.
Right.
And so we will give them an opportunity to change their mind at the quarter. I don't think many people will. I think people are going to ride out this year the way we have it, and then we'll see what happens next year.
How challenging has the pandemic been for you guys financially? I imagine there's been investment in technology that was unexpected.
Well, technology, yes, because we had to buy a lot of hotspots because we had 36,000 households that did not have broadband. So that was unexpected. We did have a plan to deploy one-to-one devices for all of our students. We had to accelerate that plan. It's probably 25 million on technology, probably another 20 million on PPE and plexiglass and everything related. It's been a huge $50 million expenditure, that was not planned for. But luckily we're in great financial shape, and we're going to get reimbursed for some of it, probably at 75%. And of course, if Congress ever gets their act together and passes some relief, then we should get some of that. But I'm not holding my breath for at least for a while.
Absolutely. We're right there with you with making announcements about relief to our workforce and our students as well. Let's move a little bit off of coronavirus and talk about really, this pandemic aside, the DISD's made really some tremendous progress and some innovations, particularly in your second term. And I was talking yesterday with Bob Mong, president of UNT Dallas, about you, just trying to get his insights before we had our conversation. And one thing he mentioned is, the continuity that the school district has had with you being here as long as you have has been a real key to the progress that's been made. Could you comment on that?
Yeah, the average tenure of an urban superintendent is 2.8 years. Wow. And I'm finishing my 12th year. Now I had to take a break in between, but I'm still me. I just got a little bit more gray and a little bit more growth here like you do. But I think part of it is superintendents are hired hands, and we come and go, and every superintendent wants to bring his team and his ideas. But I'm from Dallas, so I mean, this is not just a job. This is something that I believe in. I love this city and I love this district. All three of my boys, I have a son from a previous marriage who also went to Dallas and ISD. And so part of that is being in for the long haul, for the greater good. I was a baby superintendent when some superintendent, the facilitator, he said, Hinojosa, you're nothing but a hired hand. I said, a hired hand? I beg your pardon. I got a doctorate from the University of Texas. I got a master's from North Texas. What do you mean I'm a hired hand? He goes, let me prove this point. There are 35 high-powered superintendents in the room. He says, raise your hand if you're going to retire where you're superintendent right now. 3 hands were raised. 30 right now. That taught me the lesson that this is not in it, but my context is different in Dallas because this is my permanent home, and so I have more skin in the game. But this democracy is ugly, but it's the best thing going, and that's the way things work in urban America. So it is what it is.
What's impressive to me, and again, conversations with my neighbors and my friends, is over the last maybe 4 or 5 years, it seems like choices have really blossomed as far as Dallas schools, that you have options, that you have, if your child is into the arts, maybe they're going to go to Booker T, or I know there's a great program at Hillcrest. We have a friend that teaches there, and the AP program is very strong. And you just have so many different options. Was that a concerted effort to make that happen?
Absolutely. It was one of our strategic initiatives. It's called Public School Choice. We want you to choose your neighborhood school, but if that's not good enough for you, we want you to we don't want you to choose a private school, a home school, or no school. We want you to have options. And so in fact, 38% of our kids don't go to the school that they're assigned to. They go to a choice school. Or, for example, we have the P-TECH program in high schools. If you want to work with Microsoft and get your associate's degree, you go to South Oak Cliff High School. If you want to work with American Airlines and Dallas College, then you go to Adamson High School and you can get your associate's degree. Similarly, we're going to have a lot more choices. We're going to have Downtown Dallas Inc. is helping us put together a school in downtown. And so that's going to be phenomenal. Bob Mong's done a great job in helping us make sure that our kids get to the finish line. But we're going to have a school with A&M Commerce and the North Dallas Chamber at Valley View. It's going to be a K-12 school. We're going to have a school at Paul Quinn College with a partner with them. SMU and Toyota are helping us in West Dallas. UT Southwestern on their campus is going to have a school. There's going to be different choice. The girls' solar prep is more popular than Booker T. Right now, we're taking applications. That little school on Henderson has more applications than Booker T, and it's an all-girls STEM school. The mayor has his own kid. This is the first time we've had the mayor's kid in our schools, and he's at the boys' solar prep on Ross Avenue. So it's because people vote with their feet, and and now we're re-engineering through Education Innovation Engine our local campuses. Our local campuses can apply to be a STEM school, can be a lot of different things. With some seed money and a plan, we'll help them. So choice has been very wildly phenomenal, and we've been at this now for 5-7. Actually, we're on 7.0 choice, option 7.0 coming up next year.
I've had the opportunity with UNT Dallas to witness your early college high schools and see, those programs, and also see the excitement of the kids and the parents as they enter those programs. But for our listeners that may not be so familiar, can you kind of explain that concept, the early college high school?
Well, let's talk about what problem we were trying to solve. I'm embarrassed to tell you that in 2009, when I was superintendent of Dallas, only 7% of our kids ever went to some kind of post-secondary credential 6 years after graduating from high school. So we put this concept called P-TECH, or Early College High School, together. And now this year, we're going to have 10% of our kids graduating from high school with an associate's degree before they start the 6th year. So what is the Early College High School P-TECH? It's a three-legged stool. It's the high school, and then it is Dallas College, and you get your associate's degree for free while you're still in high school, because you have college professors and your high school teachers, and you get all of that done by the time you finish. And then we're paired with an industry partner. We have 81 industry partners that are training the kids on their stuff. I'm talking about all the prominent all the prominent companies in Dallas are involved with us. In fact, 4 of them are teacher preps. We even have a teacher prep program, and of course, UNT Dallas is helping us kids at Sunset and Lincoln go to the finish line to get their bachelor's degree and become teachers. And Bob Mong is on those campuses almost on a weekly basis. So that's the promise, is that, and now we have another program to follow it, and those are called our career institutes, where you may not need a full associate's degree, but if you want to work in cybersecurity, you want to work in aviation, you want to learn how to be a pilot, if you want to work in that kind of, we have a way to train you while you're still in high school. So all of these are new innovations that we put together over the last few years.
The other unique program that I wanted to have you touch on too is the Dallas County Promise, which, allows a child to essentially get their college education for free. Could you go into that partnership a little bit for our listeners?
And we're the beneficiaries of that. Other smart people have put that together, including Commit and, of course, all the universities. And what it does, it takes away the excuse of not being able to afford school, because a lot of kids don't even think about it because, how am I ever going to pay for this? Well, if you promise, Dallas County Promise, if you promise to go to college and you fill out your FAFSA, most of our kids are economically disadvantaged, and we don't apologize for our demography. But because of that, they qualify for a lot of grants. I was able to get through Texas Tech because of the BEOG, Basic Education Opportunity Grant. And then, but then the Dallas County Promise is the last dollar. Whatever you don't get in grants, there's a fund that very prominent people have put together that will help you pay for the last dollar. So it takes all excuses away of not being able to go to college. And of course, most of the universities in the Metroplex are part of that, the four-year institution. But Dallas College, Commit, and of course UNT Dallas have also been warriors in making that happen. So it's been phenomenally successful. Everybody tries to replicate it, but we have the synergy between UNT Dallas, Dallas College, and Dallas ISD that's making this happen. Of course, we bring in the suburban districts too, like Garland and Grand Prairie and others. So, but this synergy started with us three, and it's very unique for all of us three old guys to work together like we do.
Well, we're talking about some of the positives. What are some of the challenges that you're facing, coronavirus aside?
Well, you know, people like to make excuses because some students may not have resources. And we've always had this racial equity divide. Ever since Brown versus the Board of Education in 1954 until 1971, when Dallas integrated, we had this, then we started this divide. The white middle class left first, and then the black middle class left, and then the Latino middle class left. And everybody left. And especially if you look at certain parts of town where we had those 36,000 households that did not have broadband, are the same places where there's food deserts. It's the same places where you have high crime. And a lot of our kids want to get out of those places and they go to these other schools, but they have to come home to that. So in the bond program, we are going to come up with some school and family resource centers, student and family resource centers in those communities to help overcome some of the blight. A lot of people don't want to talk about racial equity because it's very painful. So what I tell them, okay, you don't want to talk about it, just go watch a PBS documentary about redlining. Once you watch that, then you realize why people are so angry. And I think that allows people's defenses to go down and start having a conversation. Wow, did the federal government really do this? Yes, the short answer is yes. And that's why people are so, from my generation, are so angry. I say, it doesn't do any good to stay angry. If you're a militant, you're not going to stay at the table. People want problem solvers, not whiners. So that's what we're trying to do. We're trying to solve that problem. You know, I don't look at challenges as problems. I look at them as opportunities to be solved. And that's the approach that we've taken.
Well, we haven't talked about the bond that I guess partially passed. Can you explain to us what portions of the, I believe it was a $3.7 billion proposal, what passed and what did not?
Yeah, I'm still crying because we only got 3.5 instead of 3.7. But we've already got a solution for the other few $1 million. No, what happened is we got the lion's share. What did not pass were some things that are not real popular sometimes for voters, like our upgrading our district-wide competition athletic facilities. Lowe's Fieldhouse looks good from the outside, but it looks the same as 1971 when I played in the city championship.
Right.
So it's old and tired like our superintendent. But I lost 50 pounds. I'm still old, but I'm not tired anymore. And so we wanted to upgrade our athletic facilities. The natatoriums and those things are popular with voters. The other thing that failed was our performing arts center. We were going to have a big, beautiful performing arts center at the mouth of downtown, coming in from southern Dallas. That almost passed, but we got a different solution for that. We're going to go back and if the feds actually come through with this money for broadband, then we can pivot some other dollars, and then there's actually some other dollars that we can coalesce with some other governmental entities. So that one has been delayed, but it's not gone away. But you know, you got to respect the voters. The voters said they didn't want to support those things, but they gave us so much else. So we don't have to come back for another bond for another decade. You know how old I'm going to be in 10 more years? I'm already 64, so who knows, you know. Hopefully we can leave the taxpayers alone for a while because we've got plenty of resources to do a lot of things and really upgrade all of our facilities, along with Dallas College. And downtown is going to be so different in a few years. Of course, we're right now, the DDI school is at the old UNT Law School. And so we're neighbors there. So in a few years, people are going to be amazed what this is going to look like.
Well, we love the relationship, and I'll tell you, it's fun to see in the building where my office is downtown to see the little ones in the Montessori school that DISD launched in our building this fall, and just really a joy. And our partnership is not just related to educating people, but there's also a partnership as far as developing teachers, right? UNT is the largest producer of teachers in the area, and UNT Dallas has a fast growing program with a focus on bilingual teachers. What type of guidance do you provide to our colleges of education, our schools of education, and what advice would you give to someone that wants to enter the workforce as a teacher?
Well, the teaching profession is wonderful. I mean, I was aimlessly walking the halls of Sunset High School with a big old fro my senior year, and some teacher got me to apply for a scholarship for Future Teachers of America. And it changed my whole life. It changed my world. It changed everything. And teaching is a great profession. I never thought I would be doing what I'm doing now, but it has, you can have a great impact and have a wonderful life. But let me tell you this other story. When I became superintendent in '05, we had 1,300 classrooms where we were not providing services that TEA required us for English learners. Well, now I'm here to tell you that our dual language program that started under Hinojosa 1.0 now is phenomenal. Now we have students graduating from high school, from Sunset High School, with a biliteracy seal. They're not only bilingual, they're biliterate. They can function academically in two languages. And that was a long journey, but UNT, I used to have to go to Puerto Rico, to Mexico, to Spain to get teachers. Now I just got to go to Pleasant Grove and Oak Cliff, because you guys are helping us train our own kids to become teachers. They know our community, they know our culture. They don't have to learn a new thing. And that's because of these partnerships. So it's been wildly phenomenal. And we can do this for free. We have a little girl that went to Samuel High School that became a bilingual teacher when she was 19 years old because of the systems that we had. So from Pleasant Grove to making $60,000 that quick. 19, 20-year-old making $60,000, amazing. So it is possible, and you don't have to leave town. You can be right here in this community and make it happen.
Is there a shortage of teachers in our market?
There's always a shortage of teachers, just because of the nature of the work. We have 10,000 teachers, and our turnover rate is we lost 60% of our workforce those 4 years I was gone. But now that it's settled down, we hire 1,000 teachers every year. That's just Dallas ISD. And we can hire every science teacher that UNT provides, and we wouldn't have enough. So there's always a shortage. In fact, when we started PTech, we did a labor market analysis. We found that we need people in STEM, we need people in technology, we need people in medicine, and we need people in education. And that's what these pathways are set up to do, is provide people to work in those spaces.
Absolutely. Well, another topic I wanted to just touch on briefly was, we've talked about your longevity a little bit, and you made a pretty big hire recently. You brought over the Denver Public Schools Superintendent, Susana Cordova, did I say her name correctly? To join as sort of your, deputy superintendent, your number 2 in charge. What does that hire mean?
Well, I think the board has challenged me because I've done a great job of succession planning. Not for me. I don't get to pick my replacement. The board does. But I don't feel like I've really got someone ready to take over in case I get run over by a DART bus. And you got to watch out for those DART trains and buses when you walk around town. And so, and even though I got a lot of talent, and most of my direct reports were deputy chiefs before they became chiefs. So I've done a good job on that. But I really haven't done a good job of preparing someone to take over for me, because I'm 64 years old and I have ordered a pine box for my conference room just in case something happens. But Susana Cordova was a great superintendent in Denver. She was there for 10 years. We've copied a lot of things that Denver did, but we're doing them better because now their politics are falling apart. And I was her coach in 2014, the year that I was out, that I was doing coaching and teaching. So I got to meet her, and I was her coach when she first became superintendent. And so, I mean, then I told her there's no promises. I can't hire you, but you know, she just wanted this opportunity to come in and work more closely with me. And I am convinced there's two jobs in Dallas that are very hard. There's superintendent and police chief. And if you don't know Dallas, you can step into a mess in a hurry.
Yeah, we've seen that happen, haven't we?
A lot. But this is my way of getting her to know Dallas. And if they want her and she wants it, she could take my place, but no promises. That the school board makes that decision, not me. But the board challenged me. In fact, they put it in my contract. Just get somebody ready because they're worried if something happened to me, how would we keep all these initiatives going? And, because, superintendents have egos. They want to come in and put their stamp on everything. And they throw out everything and throw out all the people and you start over. And that's why you never make progress. You look at Miami. Someone needs to look at Miami. Miami was a hot mess in 2008. And Alberto Carvalho was named superintendent. He's been there since 2008. Now, when you talk about the best urban districts in the country, it used to be Denver and Miami. Now that Denver's no longer in the conversation because their politics changed. Now it's now it's Dallas and Miami. And I think there's a correlation with longevity.
Right.
So who knows?
That makes great sense. Well, we've talked about, a possible successor, but you're obviously full of energy and heck, you're the 2020 Urban Educator of the Year. What did receiving that award at the 64th Annual Council of the Great City Schools Fall Conference, what did that honor mean to you?
Well, usually I don't care about honors. I don't care about that. Someone asked me about my legacy. I don't get to determine my legacy. Other people do. But this one I wanted. Why? Because the Council of the Great City Schools is all about urban education. I was an urban kid. I'm an immigrant. I grew up in Dallas. I was a teacher in Dallas. I had to go to the suburbs to get a job as an administrator. And I've been a suburban superintendent 3 times in some great districts. But I couldn't wait to get back to Dallas. So to me, the council is the council of the great city schools. Dallas is a great city. And to me, that was meaningful because this is my 26 years superintendent and it's all about urban education and giving kids that look like me and sound like me a fighting chance to be successful. So that one I did want, I'll be honest with you. I didn't care about the other ones I've got, but I wanted that.
Aside from the challenges of coronavirus the last few months, we've also seen some challenges in race relations. And Dallas is a very diverse city and Texas is becoming a more and more diverse state. How has that impacted your schools?
Well, actually, I have this little saying. I have a lot of Hinojosa-isms, but like I say, some people want to be principal, but they don't want to do principal. Some people want to be superintendent, but they don't want to do superintendent. Some people want to talk about racial equity, but they don't want to do racial equity. But we've been doing this even before the Black Lives Matter. You look at our ACE program. What is ACE? Accelerating Campus Excellence. That's taking the best teachers to the hardest to staff schools, paying them a lot of money and going with a great principal. And we've seen Tights Elementary School in Pleasant Grove now as a blue ribbon school. For 14 years in a row, they were underperforming. The only year they didn't underperform is when we went to the new test, the STAR test. What changed? Same parents, same neighborhood, same kids, but we brought in talent, and that's what changed. And then their trajectory changed. P-TECH is nothing but racial equity. Getting all my principals used to tell me they'd be so upset because at Samuel High School, there'd be 5 bus loads of kids trying to go to Booker T, going somewhere else, or people try to get into West Mesquite. Now we got kids wanting to go to SOC, got kids wanting to go to Madison. We got kids wanting to go to these urban high schools. They choose to go there. That's nothing but racial equity. So we've been doing it and we have an office and we have a policy and we have a plan, but this is what our real lens is about. And so sometimes people window shop in Dallas and I tell principals, look, they can't get beyond race and class. They're not going to pick your school, but they can get a great education if they do pick you. And that's what we want to provide for parents.
As we wind down our conversation, I've been asking you some pretty detailed and pointed questions, but I know, I believe tomorrow you're going to be on a panel with our chancellor talking to Leadership Dallas, where I imagine you give more of a sort of the elevator speech, so to speak, of DISD. Could you share when you're on a panel like that? What are the kind of the big picture talking points that you'd give?
Well, I think people don't realize that they see Dallas, especially in that kind of group, and they see the tale of two cities. They see this beautiful, prominent city, but they don't realize the demographics that we have, where 90% of our students are economically disadvantaged, 45% of our students are English learners. We have more English learners than El Paso has kids. We have more English learners than Frisco has kids. Yet we're knocking it out of the park. So I want people to accept us for who we are and then support us because we are making a difference. And we don't apologize, and we don't, we have high expectations and we are delivering. And I want people to see that side of Dallas. I'll finish with this, when I first came to Dallas in 2005, I say, hey, what do you work? Dallas ISD. Now I say, what do you wear? They go, Dallas ISD. So, it's taken 15 years to change the narrative, but tomorrow I'm going to have to overcome some myths that people have because some of the people in that room are not going to understand our worldview. But that's what I'm going to try to do tomorrow.
Well, as a Dallasite myself, it's exciting to see the momentum and the progress and the quality of life as a whole uplifted by DISD. So thank you for your work. And I want to close with kind of where we started, looking at 2020. What a crazy, challenging year it has been. And as we get towards the end of this year like no other, you've been around a long time, but probably haven't experienced some of the things you have this year. What lessons will you take with you moving forward?
Well, I looked at this year. I was watching, it was during this last school year, but it was, I was just watching the Cowboy game with my two Chihuahuas, and then we had a tornado. That wasn't on my calendar. And then we had this pandemic, and that wasn't on my calendar. And no matter how much experience you have to be ready to pivot. You have to be ready to make decisions in the best interest of the community, not in your best interest. And luckily, Dallas is doing well because of our can-do spirit, our business community, our ethnic communities. We fuss and discuss, and some people cuss, but in the end, we all want what's best for this community, and that's why it's getting there. And so it's been like nothing else. And I just feel sorry for some of the superintendents that this has been their only year as a superintendent. Can you imagine? Now, if you can survive this, you're gonna be okay, because it's not always like this. But somehow now I can see what's gonna happen in the next 6 months. And I think I'm very hopeful that we're finally gonna get there.
Well, Dr. Hinojosa, thank you for being so generous with your time. You're a great partner, a friend, and a UNT alum. So go Mean Green. And we really appreciate you joining the podcast today.
Thank you. I enjoyed it very much.
And to our listeners, I'm Paul Corliss, and we will talk to you next time. UNT World is a special place filled with talented and dedicated students, faculty, and staff that do amazing things every day. With our heart in North Texas, we transform lives and create economic opportunity through education. We are North Texas. I'm Paul Corliss. Talk to you soon.